was your week last week? Let's start there.
It was good. It was definitely a little insane. I scheduled more sessions with clients than I've ever scheduled before, worked them all, and then in the evenings I was working on my chopper, so it was just like constant like work but fun. So it was it was a very interesting week, but so good. How's your guys' week?
Did you finish your chopper last week? Is it done now?
Yes. Yes. Officially,
Nice.
as of last night, and man, I don't want to jinx it, so I'm gonna have to knock on some wood here. Luckily, my desk is wood. As of last night, my partner mentioned, I can't think of another thing we need to work on. I'm like, oh, score. And that's just for now. Because, ride, wrench, repeat, right?
Motorcycles are never done, right?
No.
So I'm going to start off with this whole thing by apologizing. Luke is like, oh shit, what's he going to apologize for? So Luke sent me a picture, and I never made the connection that you and I had actually met already. So I'm just apologizing now, because when Luke was like, I have this friend Ashley, and she's she's building a chopper, and he kind of explained everything, and I was like, yeah, this sounds great. Then he sends the picture from the event of ours that we had that you showed up to, and I was like, oh shit, thanks Luke, thanks for making me look like an asshole, that I'm like, excited about this guest of whom I've already met. So there's my official apology for not remembering that whatsoever. So
It was also 3 years ago in your
Yeah.
anus.
it was in my anus, and it was hot as a son of a bitch out there.
Oh my God, yeah, we were basically dying. In
Yeah.
fact, I have some fantastic pictures of our ride home from that, of Luke actually dying at a gas station in Sullivan. So,
I crawled in the, where they sell ice and they keep it
Yeah.
in that I crawled in one. It's
That's not a bad idea.
Oh, it's
I mean,
great.
it's a really good idea.
fucking hot.
it was rough, but it was a lot of fun.
That was a good
So,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, we planned that entire event around the fact that it was in Uranus, Missouri, and we literally had like 6 months worth of jokes that we used on a previous podcast to like supply the fodder for like getting people to show up for the event. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, every single joke that you could think of, and then of course we got there and went to the store and realized there was a whole bunch of jokes we didn't even think of, that they had a whole bunch more, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so that made it all the more fun. So it was a good time.
It was.
I agree. Uranus is always a good time. So.
Welcome to Moto State Podcast, where we talk about motorcycles, life, and everything in between. See, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, there's no way to like say it where it doesn't become a joke,
Exactly.
right? So yeah, it's impossible.
For me, some of the best parts has been years later when I had to explain to my now girlfriend how Ashley and I met, and then in the adventures we've been on, and of course, one of the first things mentioned. Well, yeah, then we went to Uranus, and the look on her face, because she's not from here, she has no idea what the hell we're talking about.
Nope.
So we're talking about Ashley and I going to Uranus, and she questioned that for a moment. It was great.
Right.
Not
Well, I
because she
mean-
was upset for you. It's because like she wants me.
Oh,
So,
she was worried about you, not me, for sure.
obviously. I know.
Well, Luke, why don't you introduce Ashley to everybody so everybody knows who she is and why the hell she's even here.
Yeah, I'm questioning that myself. But welcome everybody to the podcast. Today we have our very first guest ever. Ashley has joined us. She's located here in St. Louis, Missouri, and a good friend of mine, and just a great dynamic person that I'm lucky to call a friend. So, Ashley, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why the hell you're here?
Aw, thanks, Luke. I'm going to hold this to you forever, and now this is recorded, so can't take that back.
That's right.
So, hi guys, thank you for having me on the podcast. So, as Luke said, my name is Ashley. I am a trauma therapist here in St. Louis. That's what I do for fun. No, I'm kidding. I mean, it is fun, but that is my career. And then on the side, I've been working on building a chopper with my partner for 1 year, 7 months, and 15 days, and just finished it last week.
Not that you're keeping count.
Yeah, no, not keeping count at all. So I guess I'm here to talk about mental health and motorcycles and all that fun jazz.
And whatever else we come up with along the way.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And why of all of the things, when there's tons of like very comfortable motorcycles that get the job done, would you build a chopper?
It's been a dream of mine for a while. I really like to take on tasks that are bigger than me, apparently. But so for me, it's about having a bike that is custom to you. Whenever you're building it, it's not just that you're building a motorcycle. Like, a part of you is going into this bike. It is very much you, and you can see that reflected whenever you look at my bike. Like, you see a massive piece of me in it. You also see a massive piece of my partner, and it's a beautiful thing. It's hard. There's literal like blood, sweat, tears, snot all over that bike. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's worth it. It's incredible. I learned so many new skills. I'm still honing those skills.
So you say that's always been a dream of yours. So when did riding and when do those type of dreams start in your life? When did that happen?
I remember my 16th birthday. I went to dinner with my parents at the old spaghetti factory, and for whatever reason, we were just talking about someday when I get married. And I looked at them and I told them that, and I was trying to get a rise out of them, but I kind of meant it, that my future husband would have sleeves and be a biker and all this stuff. I've always loved anything that goes fast. I'm also really big into cars, mainly classic cars, muscle. But yeah, so like that's as far back as I can remember, and just seeing other people out riding and like wanting to experience that same freedom that they have. And so I started riding on the back of motorcycles when I was 20 years old, I believe. And decided that just wasn't going to be enough for me. But it wasn't until I was 31 whenever I got my license. And I took a class over in Illinois, because Illinois, you do not have to pay. It's like a $25 deposit, and it's over 1 weekend. It's intense. I didn't know anybody who rode at that time, and it was just myself and like 2 other girls in the class of like a ton of men who had already been riding, by the way, for a long time. It's just they have to go get their endorsement. So yeah, and then even after that, it was still like 2 years before I bought my first bike. So
nice. So remind me, what was your first bike?
It was a 2015 Harley Davidson, oh my gosh, XG 500.
Okay.
It was little.
Oh, wow.
It was
Okay.
very little.
Yeah, that was like they used those for the training bikes for a long time. Like for the Harley Academy and the larger dealerships had a stable of them that they used for their rider courses. I've seen a few of those made into dirt bikes, and I thought that was actually a pretty good idea to do that, because it's such a it was a great idea that Harley had for a bike that they really just fucked up. I mean, it has the worst gas tank I've ever seen in my entire life. It just but it had such great potential, right? Because that's that market that they just never figured out how to become a part of. And then by the time they kind of figured it out, those bikes were too expensive, right? I mean, it didn't make sense, right? So I don't know. I mean, good for you. So you had no friends that rode, and anybody in your family ride?
Not at that time, no.
So
Now, yes.
that's such a interesting thing for me, that how people can develop this love for something like motorcycling when there's no exposure to it, right? You just like all of a sudden you're like, hey, you know, I think I want to date a biker and ride a motorcycle and, you know, like get tattoos and do all these things that my parents don't want me to do, right?
Your poor parents. God, I feel for them. I can't. If Sophia has that conversation with me, I'm not sure. Not sure I'm ready for that.
Well, it's fair. But
I just find the idea of that interesting, because you are not the first person that I have run into. I mean, and that story is not so far off of Luke's origin story, right? I mean, really, like, he had an uncle that rode, but nobody directly in his family. So nobody that was like, you know, kind of developing this love for motorcycles in him. So
and I had no friends here that rode.
Right. I mean,
Louis.
he doesn't have any friends that ride either. They just all nice to him and let him show up places.
I do. I think they like my girlfriend better than me. So that's fine.
you know,
That's why Ashley only goes on a ride with me if Kristen's in town. So I can already see it. I know how this works.
I like the arm candy.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's I guess I never looked at it as like a big leap of faith or weird or not normal. It's what I wanted to do, so I went and did it. And I'll make some friends along the way. If I don't, that's okay. Again, growing up as an only child, I mean, I did plenty of things on my own anyway. So whatever, it's what I wanted to do, so I went and did it.
Yeah, it's such the whole idea of that's just really interesting to me, and I think we're going to have to dig a little bit deeper into that, because I think there's some weird psychological things going on to drive that in you, Luke. I truly think there is.
That's one of many weird psychological things. Make a damn list.
Spot on with that.
No, I think it's great, because my origin story is completely different. I was exposed really young to riding. I rode. I told Luke this, and it's this weird thing because they've become this like cult following. But the first bike that I have memories riding on was an FXRT right off the showroom floor in Southern California. So I kind of grew up in the mecca of motorcycling on what's now like one of the most cherished motorcycles in the Harley lineup, right? Depending on what circles you run in. So, and then I mean, I was around the 80s chopper culture. I was around the MC culture in California. Like, a lot of these things is where like I came up in as a part of that, as it being normal. Right. And then I was separated from it for a very long time and started riding again later on in life. And so it's a lot different, I think, when you look back on that. You know what I mean? Like, I've got a picture of like me sitting on that bike with like my mom standing behind me, and these people are like, who? And they're like, that's your mom? And I was like, from like 1985, for real, that's my mom. So I have her vest that she wore, that has one of those pins that everybody thinks is new that says, something about a, whorehouse and a Honda and a Harley. I don't remember how that goes, but it's like people think that's like this new phrase, and I have this pin about, like, I wish I could remember it, but I have my mom's like vests from circa 1980. So back in the day when you used to ride, you bought a jean jacket, you cut the sleeves off, and you wore that over your leather coat, and that's where you put all your pins and your jackets and your patches, and from all the rides and everything that you went on was that on the jean jacket that you wore over your leather jacket. And my mom rode in a time when there was no like functional women's clothing, and certainly not protective gear, right, for women. So she actually we were at a swap meet, and there was a police auction, and she bought a CHP, so California Highway Patrol, police officer's jacket and chaps, and had the chaps
Chips,
size to
man,
fit
like
her.
the TV show Chips.
Yeah, except like so like we have I have this jacket from the 1980s, and it's a CHP police jacket that my mom rode with for all those years, and her chaps, and then this vest. So yeah,
Oh,
you can
wow.
if you scroll way back on my Instagram, you can find like pictures of the vest that I posted a long time ago when my mom gave it to me. But so yeah, it's super cool that I love to hear people's origin stories and kind of what they got me into writing, and I love the ones the most when people had no history, because I think that those people have such a different affinity for writing than the people that like grew up with it, because it's just so, it's like you discovered that you have this new toy and you want to show everybody your new toy.
That's right. Everybody
Yes,
likes new toys.
exactly. Definitely relating.
So Ashley, you said that you do trauma therapy. So tell us what drove you towards trauma therapy versus all of the other kind of therapies.
So I did, let me back up a moment. So I've had friends that are veterans and first responders. I've dated guys of that nature as well. And just recognizing the effects of like how trauma has impacted their lives going along the way. Then while I was still in school working my master's, I did a practicum at a shelter in downtown St. Louis called St. Patrick's Center. And I was working in their women's night program, and that alone is just nothing but trauma, because being displaced from housing is automatically trauma. And so I had the pleasure of working with some incredible women through there for a few months. And that was like really solidifying me wanting to go more the trauma route, because there's such a demand for therapists in that area, like where it's like the straight like specialty, where you have trained therapists who are trauma informed and who are consistently going through training to better themselves and learn different modalities in order to treat clients. So then I ended up doing an internship with Osage Valley Counseling in Fenton, and got hired on there and worked with my founder on developing our Veterans First Responders program there. And that's really taken off quite a bit. And so majority of my clientele are veterans and first responders, with a few exceptions outside of that. So, but yeah, trauma's my jam.
Luke and I talked a little bit about being vulnerable as a male in one of our early podcasts, and I find it very interesting that you're deciding to, you have this kind of biker world where men are not vulnerable, and then you have this like trauma therapy for veterans where men are not vulnerable, right? So do you have like some sort of weird fixation with helping men become vulnerable, because that feels like the road you're headed down here?
So I will say my caseload is like really like 50-50, like men and women, but primarily, yes, I love getting men in my office and breaking them. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. I'm joking.
She was not kidding.
I'm totally kidding. But in all seriousness, I'm in agreement with you. I have a lot of men who struggle being vulnerable, but I also have a lot of women who struggle with it too. I mean, I struggle with it. It is hard as hell being vulnerable. But I think what really helps is making sure that my space is a safe space for them, and working with them on creating that so that way they are comfortable. It's funny because I've had clients call me the tears exorcist, and also the harbinger of tears. So, yeah. I mean, you walk in my office, you sit on my couch, and we're going to go through some tissues. Not on purpose. It's just what happens.
Sure.
It's beautiful.
And so how long ago, so share a little bit more about that program, when it started, and what all that consists of? I mean, obviously high level, first responders, veterans, but what else?
Yeah.
What else goes along with that?
So it rolled out in July of 2024 officially. I had started working on it though in the fall of 23, and at this point, what it consists of is ensuring that veterans and first responders have the resources they need, that I am trained in a way where I understand their culture, which I've done a lot of training on that, and also making sure I'm prepared just in general to interact with them and process their trauma, because it is so much different than working with just a client that has never been a veteran or a first responder. It's vastly different. The way that their minds work, it's different. That's all I can say there. But in terms of the program, though, so obviously we offer individual counseling between myself and it will be another therapist as well for individual. And then we do marriage and family counseling for them. And we also have groups lined up to start at any time. We have what's called CBT for trauma, which is cognitive behavioral therapy for trauma. Some people that come in, they don't necessarily want individual counseling because it might be their first time in individual counseling and they're just like, ooh, no, that freaks me out. I don't want to do it. So they feel more comfortable being with others who can relate to them. So we have that. We've also looped in medical nutrition, and our dietitian, she's a medical dietitian, the one that we have on staff, she is trauma informed and teaches these human beings to eat for whatever diagnosis they have, which is pretty incredible. And then I'm currently working on becoming certified in silvotherapy, which is forest therapy. I tried to roll out some nature therapy last year with it, but it didn't really take off. So I'm getting more in depth with that and then really making that part of the program robust, because there's something to be said about utilizing nature as a healing process on top of other modalities like EMDR. So, yeah. And we also have neuroplasticity, or not neuroplasticity, sorry. Neurofeedback that we can loop in as well too with.
I don't know what that other word was.
Neuroplasticity?
I don't know what word. Well, I can't spell it. I don't know. I don't use the word. I don't
That's
know
not
what
a
it
surprise,
means.
buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But it, you know,
Put a number in front of it. He'll get you.
Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. Give me a spreadsheet. I mean, so I never would have thought of the nutrition part of it, right? Mm-hmm. Like how, obviously garbage in, garbage out. I know that at a high level, but really I'm thinking more physical health, like stress on your heart and liver and whatever else, smoking on your lungs or blah, blah, blah. But, eating well is also going to impact your mental health. I mean, that makes all the sense in the world, but again, would have never thought of that. It's impressive how all encompassing that program has become for you guys. That's interesting.
I completely disagree with the idea that working out is a means of improving your health. I completely. I think that's a foolish idea. It's like a runner, right? I don't understand. I don't run unless someone's chasing me, and I'm 6'3", 245 pounds. No one runs after me. So I'm not like I don't understand it. It's off my it's off my radar. However, I do really want to try, and you probably have a name for it, and so it's what is okay? So you go into one of those saltwater capsules.
Are you talking about shock therapy? You just want
no.
He
you just
wants
want to put something on your nipples.
No. That's
The
not.
floats.
Wait a minute. That's a whole different thing we're talking about.
I do
Different
that too.
episode, Luke.
No, I'm
yeah,
kidding.
different
Oh, my
episode.
bad. Wrong podcast, guys. See y'all
Wrong, yeah,
later.
wrong,
I gotta
wrong
go,
podcast.
I gotta go get that one. I'll be back.
Wrong podcast. So what is that called? Where you float in the salt water, and then you go in a capsule, and it's like there's like only like a blue ambient light, but there's no sound. It's like soundproof, or what is that called? That there's a
Isn't it
it's
like
like-
sensory deprivation float?
yes,
thing?
sensory deprivation. Yes, that's what I want to try. Yeah, because it's a little bit more like around the meditation idea, but I really like the idea of just like that enclosed space, where there's no light, no sound, no whatever, and you're just like, like
You just
that.
want to take a nap. That's all you want.
I know. I'm like, hold on a second here. I'm like,
No,
you're
no,
very
no, no,
against working out, but you're just like, I just want to go float for a little bit and let my brain just take off. Have you watched Fringe?
Fringe. No.
What old TV show from like the 90s, early 2000s?
No.
or something?
No.
Like early 2000s. Oh, okay. Highly recommend that, especially if you're wanting to do that, and then you might think twice about doing that sensory deprivation thing.
No. I no, really. I think that would be. I think that would be a great, because what I have is that I have the hamster wheel brain, right? So when and Luke and I were talking about this on another podcast. So I'm one of those people that I wear a helmet all the time, and I'm not telling everybody they need to wear helmets, but I have a very good reason. If you know my story, you know why I wear a helmet. But I'm a helmet wearer, but I also, and I have a communication device that we use for our friends when I ride with my friends, so that we can, signal each other when cars are coming, and we use it to navigate traffic in big cities and things like that. My friends all listen to music when they ride in their helmets through their communication device. I don't listen to anything. So I can ride for 8 hours on my motorcycle with nothing in my helmet but the sound of the world. And so, because I like to ride for a long enough period of time until I'm not thinking about anything at all anymore, and I can just absolutely be in the moment and living in that moment of riding. So that's why I want to be in a sensory deprivation room in one of those, because I want to see if that will allow my brain to shut down faster. Does that make sense? Like to
For
see if
sure.
I can get the hamster wheel to stop running, faster, because I'm also one of those people that I don't, and I've been like this since I was little. If I can't sleep, I don't bother staying in bed. I get up and I'll go watch TV, or I'll do something, or open my computer and work or whatever, because I know if I can't sleep, that just starts that cycle of, okay, now you can't sleep, now you're thinking about this, now that leads into this and leads into that and leads into that, and before you know it, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I'd rather just get up and do something till I'm tired and I can go to bed.
So
That is
Ashley's
actually
got
highly
Ashley-
recommended.
Yeah, Ashley's got a diagnosis for you.
Right.
So
Right.
Well,
She's going to send me a bill after this podcast. That's what's going to happen.
What's your copay?
ADHD? No. Brian,
Wow. That
I'm
fast? No, I'm just kidding.
question. Do you have a TBI?
No.
Okay, I was
No.
curious.
No. And I didn't serve in the
helmet
military. One of my big regrets. No, the helmet thing was, I was in an accident when I was a kid in California, and the helmet's what saved my life. I would be dead if I wouldn't have been wearing a helmet. So,
Oh.
in fact, I got up and I did the chin strap, and it fell off my head in 2 pieces. Yeah,
Oh
but
my
I was completely uninjured.
That's
Like
wild.
my jacket was shredded. The front face shield, I slid in the dead man's pose on a California highway for so long that the front face shield was ground all the way down, so my nose was almost touching the ground.
Oh man.
Jesus.
Yeah. And I got up and I did the chin strap, and the helmet fell off, and I pulled my jacket and dropped it on the ground. I went over and sat down on the ground in a sand dune and just waited until they came over to help me. But I was completely uninjured. I was probably 8 or 9 years old when that happened.
Whoa.
Yeah. No injuries at all. Not even a scratch. Not a skin mark. Nothing.
Jesus.
Yeah, and I should be dead. So I always wear a helmet.
That's
But that's-
incredible.
But that's my story. That's like no one else's story, right? So like I'm not running around saying you need to wear a helmet because you'll die on a motorcycle. Well, it's true, right? I mean, but that's not. I'm not telling people they need to wear one. That's a personal choice. So
I will. No, I'm kidding.
and I've rode with people that have them and don't have them, and it's up to you. Like if you don't want to ride with one, that's up to you. You know.
Ashley wears sparkly helmets, so she likes to draw a lot of attention to herself and wears sparkly helmets. And
I don't want to get hit again. I got rear-ended when I was living over in Illinois, and it was like the stupidest rear-ending accident ever. Like we were at a stoplight. We were both stopped already, and then for whatever reason, he decided to hit me. The light did not change. I'm gonna be very clear on that.
Sure.
But
Do you wear a full face, or do you wear like the Chopper Cool Kid helmet with nothing on your face?
sometimes I do most of the time I do 3/4. Sometimes I do my full face as well. I transition to that quite a bit whenever it's a little cooler out or if my allergies are really bad. But I actually, if my mom listens to this, she will murder me. But I actually went helmetless for the very first time ever, like riding over the 4th of July weekend. Because we were out camping and there wasn't anyone really out on the roads we were at because we were in southern Missouri. And so I was just like, I'm going to do it. And then the ride home was terrifying because it was nighttime and there were deer everywhere and I'm on this road that I do not know. And I'm like, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah. Well, I can give you my 30 cent or my nickel thing, which is if you are wearing a helmet, I don't know if you know this or not, but your chin is the most common facial injury, riding a motorcycle. So wearing your 3/4 helmet's kind of like, well, just don't wear it. It's just a super common injury because it's also the whole thing with, I don't know if you know this, but everybody always asks why when T-bars got so popular, why didn't Harley put T-bars on every motorcycle? Because everybody makes that change, and it has to do with when you get into an accident, the T-bars will actually stop you from going over the bars and can cause more abdominal injuries, and so it's actually a liability for the manufacturer to make their bikes with T-bars, and that's why it's just like a giant open space in front of your motorcycle that you can go right over the handlebars, because like even ape hangers, right? There's the giant open space in the middle for your body to fly between.
So you can
I had no idea.
So yeah. I mean, because if you look at all of Harley's lineup, they don't sell their bikes don't have T-bars, right? But T-bars are an aftermarket add-on, and that's part of it, so you can launch over the bars. But anyway, there's my thing. Enough about that. We got to talk about Ashley.
Talking about bikes. So
redirect me, Luke. Redirect me.
I'm here for you, buddy. So let's get back to the chopper for a minute. So you've been working on this, and so I got to see it like
Right
10 months ago, 9-10 months ago, and I got to see it like a week and a half ago. Those are the 2 times I've seen it, and huge difference, obviously, over that time frame. And it's a beautiful bike, beautiful paint job. Love how it's set up.
Chili Mike.
What? That's right. What do you have a favorite part of that bike, or a part that you're proud of, or what about that bike? Is there a certain piece that's you're completely in love with? You have a favorite? Tell us about it.
Oh, okay. So it's really hard. So what's special about this bike is obviously, yes, like there's already there's pre-manufactured parts on there, right? But there's a lot of fabricated parts that we made on that bike, and it's really hard to pick one because that bike is just so special. I made some of the parts. He made a majority of the parts, my partner. But I think for me, my own personal thing, probably my rear fender. That was my design, and also like my paint job was my design too. I remember whenever I told Chili Mike what I was wanting done, him and my partner both looked at me like, wait, you want what? My partner's like, I tried to talk her out of it. I'm like, okay. And then I got my I got my parts back after being painted, and they were insanely gorgeous. Julie and Mike loved it. Took pictures, sent it to my partner because he wasn't in town, and he was just like, whoa.
It was a big "I told you so" is what I just heard.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely was, and I had no problem with that. And in fact, I'm pretty sure I said it a couple times. There's a lot of really special pieces. My bracket that has my rear master cylinder is just like so beautiful and spot on. And my partner created that for me because it also houses my front pegs, and I'm short. Forward pegs are not so great for people like me. We had to fabricate things a little bit differently, and he created that for me. And it's a beautiful piece. He spent a very long time on it. But I think one of my most favorite pieces that he created for me is my rear brake stabilizer. It is so cool, and it's so, like, if you looked at my bike, there's a good chance you might just pass over it if you weren't actually taking a minute to really appreciate the details of the bike, because there's so many details that have went into this bike. But the rear brake stabilizer it's a chain that he made, and he welded it so that way it stays taut. And the way my rear brake is set up is it's a lower one. It doesn't sit on top of the disc, so it prevents it from moving, and it is so cool. It's a very cool part.
It is. That's one of the first things I noticed on that bike. It's awesome.
Look at you.
Yeah, smarter than I look, I promise.
And sometimes we'll see.
So, what was the most challenging part of this build for you?
I knew you were going to ask that.
And maybe it's not just one thing.
That's a couple. Tell you what, if you tell me I have to switch out my my Fort tubes ever again, I'm probably just going to be like, I'm done. I'm out.
Nobody likes doing that.
Yeah, the thing is, that's not fun. With, like, the springs, it's, oh my gosh. We had to do it, like, 3 times.
Oh, God.
Yeah, because we ordered 10 over, which were too tall, and it made my bike sit uneven. So we actually had someone cut down my Fort tubes and make them 7 over, and which is a terrifying thing to have done because it's all chrome. You don't want to mess it up because then they have to thread it. But yeah, we couldn't get like the springs back in for the life of us.
Gosh.
It took a long time. So between that and the other thing that I was not a fan of, and it took all day and you would never even think twice about it, mounting my gas tank.
Oh,
You
yeah,
would
really?
not think that that's a difficult thing, but it took us a full Saturday to get that on there.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was a process, but it had to be right, and it had to be set in such a way that like the flow would come through, and it was just
Sure.
that one I was not a fan of.
Well, that's understandable. So it's done. It's running
Yep.
until it's not,
Yeah.
like any bike. So any big trips planned on it yet, or gonna put some more test miles on it before you hit the road?
Yeah, so right now I'm within that realm of riding 150 miles, so that way I can change the oil and get all like the metal and stuff out of it. After that, I have to get it up to 1,000. I apologize, that's Mr. Pickles. I have to hit 1,000 miles after that initial oil change. So last night was like the first time I really felt more comfortable on it after I almost died coming out of the driveway. But we had went for a ride was Saturday night out to Valmeyer, Illinois for like a music thing, and I had my original handlebars on there and foot pegs, and it was the most uncomfortable ride I have ever been on. I mean, I have bruises from trying to hug my bike so tight because it felt like I was like just holding on to my bike, not actually riding my bike.
Gotcha.
And so we swapped out the handlebars and put different foot pegs. I actually just like stole them off of his Evo. And then the handlebars are from his panhead.
No big deal. It's fine.
No, I told him like, hey, as soon as it's on my bike, they're mine.
Yeah, finders keepers, right?
Pretty much.
Well, and so fortunate for you, your partner has a great fabricator, but has an amazing collection of motorcycles and choppers himself, amongst other things. So it's nice to have that inventory and supply there, just in case you need it.
Yeah, between him and just some friends I made along the way through him as well. Sure. Definitely have access to a whole lot of different parts and whatnot and resources. I will say a lot of parts that were purchased, and even like I'd have someone do the transmission work and go through it. Going to DNC in Eureka, Missouri, that has been really awesome. They've treated me very well. And like they always have the hookup of parts. It's just really easy to order through them. And then my transmission came back beautifully, shifts very well.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
And so this chopper is an Evo, correct? You have an Evo. You want to share a little bit of what you've, what the chopper consists of? Because we've talked a lot about it, but we haven't shared, what do you got? What do you got under the hood, so to say?
Ooh, it's a Franken Evo head. I'm kidding. So, the frame and everything. So the body is Shovelhead 1976, and that's what my title says. And then, but all the mechanical parts are early Evo, and I chose to go with that because it's well reported that they run very well. I did have the opportunity to build a shovel motor, and I didn't do it. Part of me highly regrets it, but also I will just do it again in the future. Not a big deal.
It gives you a reason to build another, right? Not that you needed
Exactly.
one, but it gives you
Yes,
even
I
better
do.
reason.
It's never a need. It's always a want, but nah, it's a need. Yeah, so yeah, I have an early Evo motor, 5-speed transmission. I made a deal to not have a suicide shifter for at least 1 year of riding this thing, and I understand why now. And yeah, so I have the normal foot and hand. And then my bike has a 40-degree rake on it. Like I said, 7 over, and it sits about, I think it's 4 inches off the ground right now, so it's pretty low.
I mean, you're short, so it's got to be pretty
Yeah.
low, so.
Oh, I love it. This is the first bike I've actually been flat-footed on ever. I keep putting down my feet at stoplights, like since I've been riding it, like last night and the night before, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, this is
For
nuts.
reference, when I first met Ashley, she had just gotten a street glide, and that thing set pretty tall for her short ass. So it was a challenge for her at times, but she handled it great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, that was even after lowering it and putting a different seat on it. I just couldn't. I mean, I did. I had I was wearing the platform Doc Martens and had inserts to make me taller inside of those too.
Oh wow, that's a lot of lift.
I mean, girls gotta do what a girl's gotta do when you're riding a bagger.
So how soon? So does this process made you want to build another one, never do it again, or would love to, but it's going to be a little while? I need a mental and physical break from that.
So I absolutely want to build another one. There's no question about that. This process is incredible, and it is hard. It is taxing, definitely mentally taxing. especially like when you're working full time and then also like spending your weekends building, like most of them. But I want to do it again. My partner now, when he comes back from his trip, he will be focusing on building his pan. He already has the frame ready to go. I mean, you saw the engine. The engine is massive and just like dying to be put in. So I want to help him with his as much as he'll let me. And then we've talked about starting another build, not for either one of us, but just to build and sell, because there are people out there who really want choppers. They want something that's special, but they don't have the means necessarily to build or the desire to build. So
Sure.
we thought about going ahead and doing that, but that one's going to take a back burner because he needs to get his pan built.
That's going to be a cool bike. That motor's a beast. It's a hot rod.
It is. I'm terrified for him to ride that, but also excited.
It's pretty.
So I have some questions.
Okay. Shoot.
Ryan has entered the chat. Here we go.
I am terrified.
No. Because I have Luke sent me the pictures, so I've been looking at it. So, your front end looks a lot like a wide glide front end. Was that intentional?
No, so it is a super glide front end, and that was just the front end that we got. So
Okay.
kind of squeeze that away.
Okay. And I'm assuming that it's not kick, right? It has electric start.
Yes, I have like it looks just like an ignition that you'd see in a car, so I threw one of those on there. Not a kickstart. Unfortunately, my right knee, which would be my dominant, is not the best, and so having a kickstart is not a good idea.
Well, I don't blame you. I don't blame you whatsoever. I just, like I said, I'm just noticing things about it by kind of just going back and forth. I'm like one of those people, I'll look at something really fast, and then I like to go back and like go over it and go over it and go over it and go over it. You know what I mean? So like I see everything. So was it intentional to make a swing arm chopper, or did you decide to do that for comfort?
It was intentional to go swing arm. We didn't do hardtail. It actually wasn't really discussed. But I think it was just kind of assumed that I was going swing arm, especially since it's my first chopper. So, keeping it a little comfy.
Sure.
But not
Now-
comfy at all.
Now the other question is, I always think about like the what all the cool chopper kids like to go like camping and that kind of stuff. So did you set up your frame rails so you could put a sissy bar on it and strap all your camping gear to it?
Nope. If I camped off that thing, I'd have to wear a backpack.
And that'd be a hella heavy backpack to put like all the camping stuff in it to be able to do that.
Yeah,
So-
my fender kind of moves with my swing arm, so I can't put anything back there. By any means.
Well, you
Well.
could. So I don't know. So have you seen? And the only reason why I say this is because I know. So there's this gal in Canada. And I've interviewed her before. Rhea. Do you know who Rhea is?
Oh my God, she is so amazing.
So she makes a friction fit. So it let me see. So if you'd have to put a mounting point on your frame rails that go back behind your seat, that go beside your fender, right? So you'd have to have a mounting point back there for your sissy bar. But then what she does is she makes a friction fit, so like it goes over the top of the sissy bar and comes down, and friction fits on the sissy bar like a shelf. And that shelf could sit above your back fender, so your back fender would still have play. You could strap your bag to that, and it could sit on that shelf that would be friction fit to your sissy bar. And that shelf, because it's friction fit, it slides right over the top of the sissy bar, and then you can take it off, and you just have the sissy bar in the back without the shelf that sits back there.
Ooh, okay, that's really good to know.
So just I mean, if you ever need some ideas. Just throwing it out there.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes. I
No,
love
she
the work.
she is awesome. So when we talked to her before, she sent us a bunch of bottle openers. And so I have a bottle opener that looks like a giant penis, which I really
Yeah.
enjoy. It's just it's just one of those great conversation
I bet you do.
pieces.
I
But
bet you enjoy that.
she has the other ones that look like vaginas too. I mean, and that's also great. But see, I have all girls in my house, and so I thought it would be much more appropriate to have a penis one than a vagina one. So
There you
That's
go.
fitting.
I was trying to balance the scales a little bit, you know. I mean, that's really all that was. No, I told Luke too. I'm like, I have no interest in when we had our first child. We had a girl, and everybody always asked, "Well, did you want a boy?" And I'm like, I had no interest in boys, none whatsoever. After I had a daughter, I had no interest in him whatsoever. I'm like, I have a daughter. I know what to do. I'm a girl dad. Like, you know, and it's kind of like my lot in life, you know, like I have a wife, I have a mother-in-law, I have a mom and a stepmom, I have two sisters, two daughters, you know, I work in healthcare, which is majority female. So it's just kind of like, you know, it's my lot in life. So I just embrace it. I'm not trying to change it, you know, so no need for a boy.
That is awesome. I love that you're surrounded by nothing but women.
Yeah, no, it's
love it.
completely cool. So, I have to say that from a chopper perspective, one of the things that I really like about your bike is, I like how choppers can be ambiguous. So they don't have to be, oh, that's a girl's chopper or that's a guy's chopper or whatever. I love how ambiguous your chopper is, which is amazing, right? Because having you standing next to it, I can see like how that chopper has a feminine feel to it, right? It's like more squat. It's lower to the ground. Like if I stood next to that, I would look like an ape fucking a football. I mean, because I can tell like how like low it is, and you know, like that style of chopper, you know what I mean? And so I was like, but if I took you out of that picture and the chopper's by itself, it doesn't say, oh, this is a chopper that a girl rides, right? I mean, and which I just love that about the culture. And so I have to say this because it's one thing that struck me as being so crazy, is that I have said, and I stand by this myself until I build one someday. I think the choppers are the most unpractical motorcycle that have ever been built or designed. I have no desire to own a chopper and or ride a chopper. Okay, like this is like the soapbox that I've stood on forever. Okay. I was involved with a group of people. We built a custom chopper with a custom builder and gave it away for an autism charity, raised a bunch of money and gave it away for an autism charity. Okay. I rode that chopper. What's that?
So that was a beautiful bike. I saw that.
It was amazing, right? I rode that chopper. I've never felt cooler for 30 seconds in my entire life.
Yes. Exactly.
I like, and I rode it around the block, and here's my dumbass. I rode it around the block, and the bike stopped. And I straight up thought that I broke the bike. What do you think I did? Ashley's going to tell me exactly what I did.
You ran out of gas.
Yeah, see? I knew it. I knew that she would know exactly. Why? Why did I run out of gas, Luke? Because I didn't turn the fuel on. Right?
I thought it was just
Because-
a little tank and you weren't paying attention.
No, because I'm a stupid ass and I don't ride choppers. But again, the whole monkey fucking a football, I was so big that I just walked over the back of the bike and sat down because it's just this like low slung chopper, right? And I mean, you know, again, like I said, and I did, like you said, no helmet. Like I didn't have boots. I mean, there was nothing about I should be riding this chopper, but I was like, we had this like basically museum piece sitting outside of my friend's garage, and the builder's there, and he goes, you know what I really love most about building these choppers when I do it is like people riding them. And I was like, I'll ride it. And everybody's like, no, we have to give this away. He's not riding. I'm like, fuck this. I'm like, we spent all this time, all this money. I mean, literally, the last 11 months, if you counted how long we'd been talking about it and whatever, it was like 18 months. I'm like, 11 months building this. I'm like, there's no fucking way. I'm like, I am riding this thing right now. So I was the first person to ride it. The only one, I guess, that had balls big enough to do so. And I rode it around the block and it ran out of gas. And I felt like a fucking moron. So I'm sitting there trying to.
Welcome to carbureted bikes.
Yeah, I was sitting there. And we called the place where the bike was at Oprah's neighborhood, because where my friend lives in Kentucky, it was all of these giant. He lives in this really a very, very nice neighborhood with all these giant houses. And here's me with my long flowing locks of hair, big beard, riding this ridiculous chopper. And neighborhoods where there's Mercedes SUVs, and I'm just riding this chopper, and then it runs out of gas. I'm trying to start it, and I'm like, this is what assholes look like. Me, right here. This is what they look like. They look like this guy.
Proud of you. Nice job.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate. I knew she would know exactly what I did as soon as I told her. I wrote it for 3 minutes and stopped. I knew she would know.
Yeah, those packs, man.
Yeah, but I stand by it, right? Which is, I still think they're unpractical, but I understand now. That 30-second ride really made me understand the whole idea of it. I'm like, I don't think I've ever felt cooler in my whole life.
Oh, they're so much fun. It's insane. I was telling Luke last night, I was like, man, I feel like I'm a brand new rider again. I'm learning how to ride all over again, because it's unlike any bike I've ever ridden, ever. And they're just a blast. It's so light, and hitting curves. Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think
they're cool.
I think that the other thing was, when I looked at your bike, that I thought is I was like, okay, so that would be a chopper that I could ride. Most choppers I look at, and I'm just like, I turn 50 tomorrow, and I'm like, there is no fucking way you're getting me on a hardtail chopper. I'm not doing it. I think they're beautiful. I think they're works of art. My ass does not belong on one. That's just not. I'm not built like that anymore. I've got too many miles on this body, and that is not one of them that I wanna cross off my list. But like a swing arm chopper that it actually has a bit of a suspension, I could do that. I'm all about it, because I'll ride 500 miles in a day just to go have tacos somewhere. I'm not afraid to ride. So the idea of riding a chopper is good. I don't want to ride a chopper and then get off and piss blood because because it's destroyed my kidneys the entire ride, because there's no shock absorbers. And the only thing that's absorbing the shock is my internal organs.
Well,
so
at least we're not being dramatic about it. That's great.
Hey,
I don't think it's dramatic.
I am nothing if not dramatic, Luke.
No shit. No shit.
Just adding a little level of flair to the podcast. It's fine.
This is the thing. I've done this for a long time now. I like to paint a picture in someone's memory, so if they can't see me, if they hear the words, they fully understand. Right now, there's somebody out there that's going to listen to this podcast, and they're going to think, riding a hardtail chopper means I'm going to piss blood. Somebody is going to be, that is the thought that's going to be in their head of, some old dude getting off of a chopper, walking into a bathroom at a rest stop, pissing blood, getting back on his chopper, and driving away. Right? There you go. Now you got it.
Choppers aren't cool anymore because Ryan said so.
No, hey, they're cool for a lot of people. But here's the thing, Luke. I've done a lot of research on this, Luke. This is really it. I've been looking back, so look at the resurgence in this chopper culture, right? Because there's a huge resurgence in choppers. But look at how old they are. They're all 25. Because those kids can still get out there and ride choppers and not be destroyed. That's why. Right? Everything I did in my life up until now does not say to ride a chopper. That's all. But
I will have a chopper one day, and then I'll probably be in my 50s or real close to it, and I don't care. It'll be a swing arm, but it won't be a hardtail. But
right. Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to build like a Sportster style chopper, because I love Sportsters, and they're not, they're horribly not great suspension bikes anyway, right? So I get that part of it, but there's just something about riding a Sportster of all the bikes in the Harley lineup, that is such a visceral. You stop at a stoplight and your mirrors are useless because the whole thing is rattling the shit out of you. There's just something visceral about that experience that's different from other motorcycles, and why I really kind of love that. You know, so I completely understand that. So, and I have my bike that's sitting in my garage right now, Luke, that I have to fix anyway. So,
Yeah,
you know.
You
Yeah,
better
so
get used to turning the fuel on.
I know. So, Ashley, you don't know this, but that picture that I told you of me on the 1985 FXRT, I bought one 2 years ago. That is the same colorway, the same year of that motorcycle. That I got this text message at like 10 o'clock at night, and it was from my friend, and it was like the picture of this tarp pulled back on this bike, and he said, "Is this the bike?" And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me right now?" I'm like, "Where is this bike?" And he said it's in a storage shed in my hometown, like, so it's like 40 miles from me. And he's like, he'll sell it for a price. And I was like, really? And so I went out there. The bike was not for sale, and I went out there with a cashier's check and bought it from him and put it on a trailer, and so I have it, but it's now been sitting in my garage versus a storage shed, and I haven't done anything with it. So now is I'm quickly approaching this time that I need to do something with it, or sell it to somebody who will do something with it. So
yeah, but that's an incredible story. It's like bike comes back to you.
Yeah, but it's not the actual bike. It's just the
Right.
same year, the same colorway, the same everything of the bike that I rode or that I was on back then. So it's kind of a little bit of a legacy for me. But anyway, now enough
Ryan,
about
does that have the tour pack as well?
Has everything, dude, and it's unmolested. It's never been. It's got like 3 things on it that you could have bought out of a Harley shop. As has the stock exhaust on it. It's a completely unmolested motorcycle.
I'll buy it from you if you're gonna sell it. Just
Okay,
let me
all right.
You already have one FXR, Luke.
know. I don't have that.
He doesn't have this one.
That.
Yeah,
I want an
no.
I want an FXRT, like clamshell bags, tour pack.
Yeah.
Like I want one of those. Real
Yeah,
bad.
it has all the things on it. So yeah, I have to do something with it. So, but anyway, again, enough about me. Luke, you're supposed to redirect me.
I was gonna, man, it was
This
hard
it's
to get a word in there. I was just waiting for you to come up for breath, and you finally
Okay.
did. So
Fair enough. Okay, so I want to go back. I want to go back to the counseling thing because the chopper. And forgive me for asking this, Ashley, but will you come on again? I'm going to ask you that now.
Oh, I would love to. Yes.
Perfect.
I mean, you
Perfect.
can't say
All right.
no in the middle of an episode. but
Exactly.
it's fine.
That's why I asked her, and I put her on the spot while we're recording. The only way this doesn't is if I edit it out, and I do the editing, so I had to get the answer.
He's smarter than he looks too.
Yeah. No, the reason why I asked this is because, and Luke and I actually kind of talked about on the podcast, I said, I kind of envision Ashley is somebody that we could bring on more times because there's not enough hours in one podcast, right? To kind of, I think, unpack, I think all of the things that you bring to the table that I think make you so super unique. And I'm not singling you out as much as I'm saying you bring the kind of this mental health aspect and being a professional in the industry. You're a female rider. That's something else to unpack. There's all kinds of things that come with that. And Luke and I are both girl dads, right? So I have like a million questions because that I do not want to fuck up because I would really love one of my daughters to ride one day. So I can't mess that up. And they both ride with me, so they kind of have it in their bloods, and their mother ride with me, and she completely is supportive of all my stupid motorcycle shit. So I can't mess that up. So I got to make one of them a rider, right? Mm-hmm. And like I said, Luke and I are both girl dads. And then you have this like other thing, which is like you built a custom chopper, and there aren't enough hours in one podcast to touch on all of those. But I do want to dig a little bit deeper into the mental health thing, only because of this is that. Like I said, and I don't think that we really. I asked you a little bit about it, but we didn't get anything out of you from it yet. Or maybe not deep enough. But you're in this world of trauma for veterans, for first responders, right? You're in a motorcycle world, and I want to speak. I want to talk to you specifically about vulnerability, only because I know that is something that we're not good at as men. I think that I think it's viewed as a weakness from a male perspective. I also think that when you have had trauma, because I would consider myself a trauma survivor also, when you've had trauma, the first thing you do is the first thing I did was shut that part of me off, right? Because that's a protective mechanism. But what I found is that it was super easy to shut off, but it's been nearly impossible to turn back on. And as I've gotten older, it was one of the things that Luke and I talked about was I found it more difficult to make friends as I've gotten older. Not that I don't want friends, but I think that when you're younger, you're quicker to trust maybe, or more likely to trust. And as you get older, I think that's one thing that you kind of move away from, right? And then if you add in the idea of lacking an ability to be vulnerable, which is where honest conversation comes from, is all of a sudden all of these things have now become more difficult, right? Then you add in the long hair and giant beard and tattoos and everything else that says "Don't talk to me," and then the resting asshole face that my daughters like to say that I have. You add all of those things into it, and I found that I needed motorcycling more than motorcycling needed me, because I needed that door opener, right? That thing that was going to be an easy conversation piece, that thing that was going to be that thing you could always go back to and talk to. So even if you're a room full of people that you don't want to talk to, but they all ride motorcycles, at least you have that, right? And so talk to me a little bit about that part of your counseling and kind of, with your demographic. How do you approach that?
So typically whenever they get onto my couch, something had to have happened in order for them to get there. Not very many of my clients from the demographic come because they're in a good spot. So they're kind of already like expectant of, hey, I'm going to have to open up. So earlier, whenever we briefly spoke about it, I mentioned that the importance of creating a safe space. I'm a little bit different of a therapist in that I tend to be a little bit more forward. I'm not as fluffy, unfortunately. Like,
okay,
very good with
fair.
empathy and whatnot. Yeah, and that's what's needed with the demographic that I work with. I'm a huge believer in the therapeutic relationship. That's what creates trust. And whenever you have that established, my clients are more likely to really open up and divulge things. But I mean, I have some clients that I'm learning new traumas about after a year of seeing them, because it can take a long time, and part of that is just instilling like, hey, like, just trust the process, we're just going to get to know each other, and kind of going from there. So building the safe space, building trust, but also something I've found, and you guys may or may not agree with this, I'm not sure. Luke, since I know you, I know that you're somewhat good here, but I found that a lot of people that come in, especially men, they do not know how to discuss their emotions, and they genuinely do not know the vocab for it. So they don't know how to talk about their emotions. I have a pillow sitting in one of my chairs that is literally an emotion wheel. So if they're struggling, I'm like, here, throw the pillow at them. But honestly, it does come down to like being able to say what you're feeling. And so we'll start off with really basic teachings with emotion regulation and being able to identify different emotions. And that might sound so simple, but like seriously, it's a lot that come in. They're just like, I don't know how to talk about this. But then feeling safe enough to maybe talk to their spouse or a loved one in that manner, or friends, for instance.
So it sounds like there's an educational piece to it at times,
Yes.
right? Like you don't know
yeah.
what you don't know. So
Exactly.
you've got to understand what you're feeling and then
Right.
how to communicate that, recognize that, communicate it. And then what, I guess, and I don't know if this is the right order, but you also got to understand why you're feeling that way, right?
Exactly.
Like what's causing that.
Anger comes through quite a bit, and anger tends to mask pain or confusion. Not necessarily like, I'm just angry. It's like, actually kind of sounds like you're hurting. And they're like, well, yeah, you know? And just, again, like what you said, it is an educational aspect. So
That's, I mean, and not to compare who you talk to my daughter, but teaching,
please.
but to teach someone what, what they're feeling and maybe why. Like with Sophia, she got embarrassed because she made a mistake years ago, and she got mad. I was like, it's okay to have emotion, but you're mad because you feel bad for getting it wrong. You don't have to be mad at yourself, though. It's okay. You can forgive yourself, give yourself some grace. But to your point, anger comes from a lot of different places, embarrassment or whatever the case may be. And in my case, I had a lot of things to be embarrassed about because I made a lot of mistakes earlier in my life, and that came out as anger toward everybody else. And I was not a pleasant person to be around for a while, and it took a long time for me to be comfortable discussing that with my therapist and understanding that and opening, peeling another layer of the onion back to, figure out what's going on. So for me, I what you do and any therapist, counselors do is God sent work. I mean, I can't, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for a good therapist that I've seen for a long time, since 2013. So.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Yeah. And I will say also, like, to going off of like the emotion regulation aspect and vulnerability, I will say, like, a lot of it too is just not only creating that safe space within the counseling office, but also learning how to create a safe space at home or wherever your environment may be tumultuous. And so a lot of boundary setting comes with that. Becoming vulnerable is a state of teaching. Like the whole thing, it's them learning, me teaching, us practicing, and them actually understanding like why we're working to this. At the end of the day, whenever I have a client who's gotten to that point where like they're doing a great job communicating how they're feeling, where they're understanding what they're feeling and why, when I see them, it almost comes down to the fact that they know who they are now, and they're moving forward with being their genuine and authentic self. That is huge with that. Because if you're behaving in that way, then you're not so much trying to hide anything. You're not trying to hide that vulnerability. You feel safe. It doesn't necessarily matter who's around because you're being you then.
Yeah.
So
I think, Ryan, that ties back to what we talked about an episode or two ago about how you evolve as a person, and in my case, I became more emotionally mature and emotionally intelligent. That there's friends that I don't see or talk to as much, and there's a big reason right there is just not those people not providing a safe space for me to be vulnerable anymore, and so they did nothing wrong, and it's not that I'm not friends with them, but that relationship for me is just, I look at it different with that person now that I've evolved as a person.
yeah.
Right. Well, like my wife always says to me that I have two emotions. I have happy and mad because sad is hard, right? And so, and I think that that was probably one of the best pieces of advice, or not advice, wisdom, I guess, when I've also been married a very long time, and I have a wonderful, wonderful wife. And I tell a lot of people we've grown up together, right? We've been married for 29 years. And so, when you grow up with this person, which we have, she knows me better than anybody in the world. So she knows all those deep, dark secrets that you don't tell anybody else, right? And so having that, like, realization that anger can or sadness manifests for me as anger, and that more oftentimes than not, it's something where my feelings are hurt or I'm sad more than I'm actually angry. I'm probably not even angry at all, right? And so, but because sadness is hard and it's not something that I'm good at, I don't think anybody's necessarily good at sadness, but some people are better at probably, like managing it, right? And so, because of that scenario, I think it just having that recognition, or like Luke said, being more emotionally mature, you can deal with that a little bit better, which is this interesting thing because it's been invaluable as a parent, because we have two children, one who's exactly like my wife and one who's exactly like me. And I have a child who has two emotions. She has happy and mad. And ironically enough, she's probably going to be my motorcyclist too, right? So the one who's happy and mad, but it's because it's the very same thing, right? And so, but having that recognition, like, okay, you're feeling this way because you're not mad, you're sad, or your feelings were hurt, and that's how that's coming out, and you can have those conversations, right? Which is way easier to parent a teenage daughter who has everything else going on in the world, and then being able to recognize and manage this state of emotion, especially when it's somebody who you share a brain with, right? So that is a lot easier to manage that. So I appreciate you being able, kind of bringing this forward, because I think it's I think that there is this the recognition, or we need to start to recognize these things as you can turn this idea of vulnerability into a strength rather than it being a weakness, right? You can have a better grasp on not only your own emotions, but the emotions of those people around you. You can be more empathetic. You can be more apathetic. You can not only say to somebody that you understand how you're feeling, but you can live in their feelings a little bit with them because you understand them a little bit more, right? And so I appreciate that, because I think that there are plenty of people out there that need to hear it, and maybe there are people out there that listen to our podcast that don't need to hear it, and you can shut it off and go fuck yourself. I'm fine with that too.
There we go.
Yep. But no,
I mean, that also goes back to just living in the moment, like you said earlier. Right?
Yes.
Right.
Just, you're living in the moment. You're being present for yourself, but also hopefully you're being present for others as well.
Right. And I think that to me, that idea of your mental health is where it ties into motorcycling. And that's like my biggest takeaway that I try to tell people, is that I have found nothing in the world that I've been able to do, not sports, not reading, not anything, that forces me to live more in the moment than motorcycling does, because it engages all of my senses. It engages all of my physical being. You know what I mean? You have to, you're using both of your feet and both of your hands and your eyes and your ears and your nose, and you're feeling all those things. And then it's hard to explain to somebody how you're riding a motorcycle and you can feel a 5-degree temperature change, right? Because or you're riding, we've all done it, you're riding down the interstate, and it's like an 85-degree night, you hit a cold pocket of air, and it's like this weird thing that, like, all of a sudden you're like really cold, and then you go back to being warm again because there was like a weird cold pocket of air. Or you're riding and you can tell when somebody has cut their grass, or when somebody is having a fire, or whatever it is, right? But it engages all of your senses. And I've never found anything in the world that engages all of my senses and forces me to live in the moment, like motorcycling does. And what I also find interesting is that I've never, and this is me, I'm not going to speak for any other rider, so please, no one out there in the world take offense to this. But I found myself being even more hyper-focused when I have a passenger, because that person is trusting you with their life, because a decision that you make on your motorcycle could potentially put them in danger. And so I find myself being even more hyper-focused in those situations. And Luke and I talked a couple podcasts ago, or maybe last one, about riding in groups. And I told him, I said, I'm not a huge fan of like those 30 bikes in a group kind of scenario, right? Yeah. And the reason why is, and it has nothing to do with the skill set of those riders. It's a me issue, is that if there's 30 riders, there's probably 28 I don't trust. And it's not, has nothing to do with me knowing anything about their skill set, right? I don't have history. I ride with 3 other guys that I've ridden with for probably close to 40,000 miles. You know, the same 3 guys. And so we do things in unison when we ride together. And there was no bigger compliment than we were riding with a 5th guy that was in our group, and he goes, I can tell that you guys ride together all the time, because he could see how everything that we were doing was in unison. You know, blocking traffic, signaling for the other person, knowing what we were doing, having the correct amount of spacing, knowing when we should close the gap, when the gap needs to be open wider, like all of the things that we do automatically because we know and ride with each other so well. But it's, you know, so like, while I'm comfortable with one person on the back, or when I have that person in my hands, a group of 30 riders doesn't make me, like, that's not something I look forward to. Like, ooh, I can't wait to go on this group ride this weekend with 50 other guys. Like, I'm not down. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't appeal to me. But, you know, if somebody's like, hey, there's 3 or 4 of us that are gonna go for a ride, I'm like, oh yeah, I can get behind that. And it's not that I won't do the other ride, right? I will. It's just not my bread and butter. It's not what I would like to do on a weekly basis kind of scenario. Just because, you know, of the unpredictability of it. Motorcycling is inherently dangerous already, right?
So yeah. I want to interject here.
Please do.
So you say, like, motorcycling for you forces you to be in the moment because you need to be aware.
Yeah.
Linearly riding a motorcycle. Yep. But also, and correct me if I'm wrong, I understood that is it forces you to think through things, right? And process things.
I think process them, right? Okay. Because things that
that's where I want to interject. Motorcycle doesn't force you to do that. That's a choice you're making. You can just as easily hop on a motorcycle as a distraction, so you don't have to process those things. So kudos to you. I think you need to give yourself more credit than you are. Motorcycle is just the byproduct. Mm-hmm. I did that when I was a runner, before I motorcycled. I busted balls. Like, this is the second podcast I had mentioned being a runner. Like, I don't understand runners. This is the first time he's actually said anything to me that he was a runner. Yeah. I never knew that until right now. So the point being, listen, like, whatever it is, running, woodworking, crocheting, I don't know, taking the dog for a walk, I don't give a shit. Whatever it is, that's a byproduct of a choice you make. So give yourself a little more credit than that.
But here's the thing though. Like, I took my dog for a walk the other day, and I didn't process a single thing on that walk.
That's because you're busy cleaning up shit. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Whatever.
I didn't bring one of those shit bags with me. I probably should have, but I didn't know. I guess, like I said, for me, I think it's about, it engages all of the other things. Mm-hmm. Like, all of the other stuff is busy, right? And so like, that's when, like, I can, like, I get in my head a little bit more. But I also know I compartmentalize, right? So, like, if there's a, thing that happened and I don't have an answer, or I don't have a solution or whatever, like, I put that away, because I'm not going to, like, leave that in the front of my head to think about all day long. I put it away so I can move to the next thing, right? And so
Ashley, do you see a lot of unhealthy compartmentalization in your clients?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I actually teach them a method that's used with EMDR, which EMDR is eye movement desensitization reprocessing, and it's modality that we use as evidence-based practice to process trauma. But before we actually go into processing, we do some resourcing, and that resourcing consists of creating a container. And Luke, I know earlier you said you don't know that word neuroplasticity because if you can't spell it, it's just whatever.
I'm not sure I can say it, so.
So building a container is essentially a form of neuroplasticity. It's where you're creating new neural pathway in your brain. So with compartmentalization, you don't really know when things are going to pop back up for you, right? Like, you're just tucking it away and you're hoping it's going to stay there until you're ready to deal with it, but you could be out, like, laying on a beach somewhere, having the best day ever, and then something pops up that's like, hey, remember when you got robbed? And then you're just, like, completely messed up. So I teach them, it's called a container, and in their mind's eye, they build out a container. And, like, there's a two-way valve on it. It's constructed of the strongest material they can think of. We have the inside be all, like, comfortable and nice, because whatever you put in there, it wants to stay in there. And so once they have this constructed, and they name it too, and they associate positive feelings with it whenever we teach it. So whenever you start to put things in there, you make sure that, like, you open the valve and you close the valve while you're thinking about the positive things or emotions or sensations that you get whenever you imagine putting in a distressing situation or feeling or thought or anything like that. And then once it's in there, you close the valve. And, like, once you become good at this practice and calling it up whenever you need to, it sets you free of it until you process it later with a therapist or whatnot. So I explain it to my clients as, hey, this is a form of compartmentalization, but it's a form that you have control over. Sure. It takes a lot of practice.
Yeah.
So.
And I wasn't saying that Ryan, I wasn't insinuating that you were at unhealthy compartmentalization. Like, you didn't have a solution, you were put away, come back to it. But I speak from experience. Like, I was really good at compartmentalizing things and locking them away for a very long time and never coming back to them. So
I'm gonna really fire up Ashley's psychological neurons right now.
Okay.
So here's the next layer of all of that, Luke. My trauma came from the person who made me fall in love with motorcycling.
Oh, wow.
Ashley's like, oh my gosh.
You know, us layman people call that
exposure therapy.
No, and but the beauty of all of that is, like, I know, right? I know about all of it. I know where it came from. I've spent the vast majority of my adult life, dealing with it and that kind of stuff. And so I learned a ton from being married, right? I learned I didn't know how to argue, all these kind of things that, like, I learned about myself. And I think I've said it before, but I really give my wife a ton of credit for being, like, that person who has been able to, like, not be, because I think like a fear of mine was always like, well, if I tell you this, then how are you going to see me? Is that going to change how you feel about me or how you see me or what you think when you look at me? You know what I mean? Because I think the biggest thing is that I've never ever wanted anybody to feel sorry for me, right? I'm not looking for anybody's sympathy. And kind of like one of the things I said is that I was the child that went through the things I went through, so someone else who couldn't have survived it didn't have to survive it, right? And so that was like my, like, hey, like, I got through it. It made me stronger. It made me a better person. It made me, like, know the things that I don't want to be, or the person that I didn't want to be, or, so I've always thought about that. Even, like, with parenting, right? Like you see something that you see something that somebody does or says, and you're like, ooh, like I don't want to be that kind of parent. Like maybe I want to be this kind of parent. But I think Luke and I talked a little bit about that, about our kids one time when we were like, when you're living your passions and your children see what your passions are, that they like feel free to live what they're going to be passionate about, no matter what they are. Luke and I talked about that with our daughters, how they're these things that they're passionate about, and you kind of like lift them up and you support them, even if they're things that you like or don't like. But I said, I had a friend that when he had children, he gave up all of his passions. And I just was like, oh, I don't understand. Like you can be all of the things, you know what I mean? Like I can, for lack of a better term, I'm just going to use this term. You can be a dirty biker and a good dad all at the same time. You know what I mean? You can be a dirty biker and a professional like Luke all at the same time, right? You can be it all. You can have it all. You really can, as much as people don't like to think so. And I would imagine that if I was, just knowing me, if I was a veteran, but I consider myself a motorcyclist, and I walked into to get therapy and I saw you, it would automatically be disarming, because I would see somebody like me. And so I would bet that your tattoos and your motorcycle and all of these things are very disarming to somebody who has put up armor in front of them. I would say that all of those things about you probably become this amazing door opener that someone that maybe was wearing, like a very professional attire, and not that you don't, but you know what I mean? Like, I think that would lend itself to being a very good door opener, if that makes sense.
Thank you. It does. Like, in the mental health community, we are raised, to meet our clients where they're at. And with my specific community, you're not going to see me walking in one of my business suits or anything. Sometimes I dress nice, and that's just to throw my clients off. But primarily it's jeans, because I do ride into work quite a bit, so they get that part of me. So jeans t-shirt, or jeans and a nice shirt on my bike.
But you're being your authentic self, right?
Exactly, yes. You walk into my office, you see two very warm pink chairs in there, and this rug that's all multicolored with pink and teal and gold and stuff. But then you see my clock is this Harley Davidson cutout clock. You see that I have a blanket on the back of one of my chairs that is all motorcycles throughout the decades, and one of them has the saying on it, and I always have it folded on this, therapy's expensive, wind is free. And so I always have that right there. But yeah, it is a balance, and I do try to meet them where they're at. And so I appreciate you saying that and recognizing, because they're not going to respond to someone that's very well put together, and that's okay.
Oh yeah, I think absolutely it's okay, because I think that you have to live your truth, right? Just like Luke said, be authentic, right? And I think that's one of the things, I would say one of the core values where Luke and I are very much in alignment, which is we both believe in the idea of being authentic, living your truth, being who you are, right? Knowing that, we won't always agree. But if you're living your truth, there's a beauty in the fact that you can have a conversation with somebody and not be on the same side of that conversation. I enjoy that. I enjoy that, peaceful discord, right? That place where you don't agree, you're not in the same place, and it's okay. It doesn't change your opinion of that person or what you think of them. I really dig that part of it a lot. From perspective. So,
Well, I'd say
Ashley,
too, like, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you.
no, you're good.
I would
Please
say
interrupt
too,
me.
like talking about, for your clientele, Ashley, like that you meet them at their level, but it's also responsibility of the patient or the client, like me and Ryan, would be that we find the right fit for us, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, so folks that are listening or watching, and maybe you're considering going to a therapist for the first time or a counselor, you don't have to go to the first one you visit.
Right.
Test it out, because you got to
Yes.
have that good feel, right? You got to have that vibe, that match, that energy. It's a two-way street, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I do recommend giving it like 3 sessions, typically with a therapist, just to see if you guys vibe. Unless like the intake is so like jarring, you're just like, oh, nope, never again. Do not stick with a therapist that you don't mesh well, because one, you're not going to want to do the work that it takes to put it on yourself, because therapy is very much something that you only get out of it what you put into it. And that's just the way it works. So if you don't have a therapist that you're connecting with, it's not going to work well for you, because we can't do the work for you. We're kind of like, Sherpas. Like, we're there to guide a little bit, right? And we're there to teach and practice and work with you in session, but then eventually you have to leave session.
Yep.
Yeah.
And are you going to leave feeling connected?
When you're building out your bike, whether it's something you bought and you just changing out bars and seats and things like that, you got to figure out what fits right. It's the same principle here. Like, I mean, you got to figure out what feels right, what looks right, feels right, passes the smell test, whatever. I was super lucky. First therapist I talked to is the guy I still see today.
You smelled him?
12.
That's what I want to
Well,
know.
I mean, I smelled his office. It smelled okay. I know he didn't rip one or something, so I'm thankful for that. But
Pass the smell test. I'm like, I'd have been weirded out if I was a therapist and you walked over and like smelled the top of his head and you're like, yep, shampoo's good for me. I'm good.
I just wonder
Yeah,
what cologne
things
he was
happen.
wearing. Yeah, 12 and a half years later, I'm still seeing the same person. And I got lucky, but I was fully prepared to have to visit 3, 4, 5, however many it took.
Yeah.
And I got super lucky. So, again, point being, folks that are considering going down that route, please do. If you're thinking about it, explore that option, but be ready to visit a couple of different folks to find the right fit for you.
Yeah, I tried, to that point. I mean, Luke makes a great point, because I tried when I was 19. And the intake, the therapist said to me, I see a lot of kids your age, and I was immediately put out, because I thought he was making an assumption that I was like all of the other kids he was seeing, and he didn't know he didn't know my story. He like said that within the first 5 minutes that we were in the room, and he was like, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of kids your age. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, I'm done. You know what I mean? Like, I completely shut down, and I didn't go back again for 25 years. Just because it was so off-putting to me that he automatically kind of lumped me into whatever category of 19-year-old that he was seeing that he had in his brain already at that point, right? And so I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. And then I was convinced that there was no reason for it, and I didn't think it was a good idea, and whatever. And at that point, I kind of waited till I was, man, I don't even know, 45. I mean, something like that before I ever went back again. So, I mean, it was probably 18 to 20, 22 months. I don't know, something like that I kind of, was there a couple times a week for about a year and a half. And that's, I think it's what I needed to right my ship a little bit. And I think it's what I needed for a lot of self-reflection, and maybe to be able to put myself in a position to do some of my own work on myself. You know what I mean? You have to, I've always considered myself to be pretty self-actualized. I know who I am. I know what I'm about. I know what I believe in. But I think that there was these things about me that I felt like that I didn't have the tools to fix on my own anymore. And I felt like that's probably what I needed. But, and I don't think there's any, I don't think there's any shame. I did break the cardinal rule, though. I rode my bike to therapy, because they always say there's never a motorcycle in front of a therapist's office. I rode mine there all the time.
I've done that.
That's such crap. Like, I actually, I saw someone who posted something like that on Facebook, and I marked on, my bike is always there.
Well played.
Touche.
Well, hey, man, we've been talking for a while, and this has been great. I think this is probably a good spot where we say until the next time Ashley is on the show, which will be about an hour. We're going to do another episode, by the way. I'm joking.
She was like, "What? You didn't tell me that?"
I gotta eat. I gotta pee.
No,
I gotta die. I'm tired of you guys. Jeez.
No, not even. This
Ashley,
is fun.
thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate taking the time and joining us. This has been good. And as Ryan said, we'd love to have you back on the show sooner than later and expand on all the layers of Ashley, the writer, the builder, the therapist. Yes, it's an onion. Yeah.
I do specifically, in my brain, because we're both girl dads, I want to talk specifically just a whole episode on being a female writer and your experience in the world, and how do we support that as girl dads? How do we support that in our own kids, in the community? Because I want to unpack that one a lot, because I feel like there's a lot of information out there. I feel like it's talked about it in a lot of ways, but I want some real talk. I want some real this is what you guys do when you're being assholes. I want to know it all. Because if there's something I'm doing that I need to stop doing, I want to know about it. You know what I mean?
First thing she's gonna say is every time I go riding with Luke, it fucking rains, and I'm fucking tired of it. That's what
every single time.
Hey,
I agree. I want to hear about that as well. For sure.
Ashley, at least you didn't have to deal with some bullshit check engine light that he threw at me. So,
Here we go. Both can kiss my ass.
He's like, I can't ride. I have the TPS or some check engine lights on my bike. I'm like, if it starts and it shifts and there's brakes, get your ass moving down the road.
I'm sure you had a great trip up there in 100 fucking degrees. And
yeah, it was not. No, it was so terrible. It was the worst trip ever. No, it's always good to see friends and always good to meet people. But yeah, it was, Luke and I had all these plans, all for naught, because he couldn't ride with a check engine light on his bike.
Here we go.
He's just a big baby sometimes.
Guys, it's really been a really good ride. Minister Podcasts. This is actually going to be our last fucking episode. Just master.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me. This is fun.
Yeah. No,
Ashley, it was a really good time. We were excited. Luke and I did have a conversation about who we wanted to bring on first, and Luke was pretty passionate about having you on, and I'm really glad. I'm super glad that you are our first guest, and like I said, there's a whole bunch more to unpack. I was going to divide this up into 2 episodes, but I don't know if I'm going to. I might just keep it as one big ass long one.
Yeah.
So
and right before 2 things before we sign off. One, we haven't mentioned how badass, awesome, and kind Ashley is for printing off flyers promoting our podcast, putting them in boxes of parts she was selling on eBay to promote the podcast. Now, I don't know if those parts actually work, and we may get some hate mail from that, whatever.
You might.
But either way, I appreciate that. I did not expect that. Thank you very much. That was very kind of you.
The pleasure is mine. Your stickers are also in my my office, and I've had people grabbing too. So
yeah, absolutely. She said something about wanting a cut of something, but
I mean,
reception was bad.
Royalties might be nice.
A cut of 0 is still 0.
Yeah, we're in the hole. Are you kidding me? So you actually owe us money. So the second thing is, as we always say, if you like this, you're enjoying the podcast, feel free to support us. It costs nothing to subscribe on YouTube, repost some posts on Instagram or on our Facebook page. That costs absolutely nothing, but does a ton for us. If you find it within your means to be able to throw us a couple bucks through Patreon, we have 2 levels. Friend of the podcast at $5. Did we become best friends for $10 a month? We really appreciate that. At the $10 level, we do a monthly video chat with all those patrons, and you're entered into a quarterly giveaway for some Moto State merch. So again, thank you guys for tuning in, and Ashley, thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you fuckers next week.
And I do want to thank all the people that have already supported us. You guys are a big help, and we really appreciate everybody that's done that, because it is, if nothing else, it enables us to keep doing this, because like we've said before, this shit ain't free, but we are happy to bring it your way.
Yeah, right here. This shit
ain't
free.
Oh, there you go.
Look at that.
There's
buy one
this
of
shit
those
ain't free.
shirts.
There you go. Thank you guys.
All right, guys. See you next week.
Thank you. Thanks.